Crystal Clear 101. Welcome back to my channel. We have a Star Wars action figure review today. And today I'll be looking at the Disney Store exclusive Elite Series Imperial Stormtrooper. Now this figure was released back in late 2016. This is an exclusive to Disney stores. And the original suggested retail is $25.99. Before I go any further, let's take a quick look at the packaging for the figure. And now let's take a quick look at the packaging for the Elite Series Stormtrooper. First off, in the top left-hand corner, we have the Disney Store exclusive logo, followed by the sticker saying diecast to the left of the figure itself. Along the bottom, the Star Wars Elite Series logo and the name of the character. And the top right of the corner indicating which movie this is from, in this case, Rogue One. Now, moving on to the reverse side of the packaging, along the top, it talks about the collaboration between Lucasfilm and the Disney Store for the Elite Series. And then the info for the figure itself reads, Stormtroopers are the faceless legion of soldiers serving the Galactic Empire. Encased in white armor, Stormtroopers are loyal Imperials who undergo rigorous training that strips them of any sense of individuality. Now, along the bottom side of the packaging, some more copyright information saying it is a authentic original product of the Disney Store. And with that done, let's go straight to the figure itself. And now let's go ahead and take a 360-degree look on this figure. Now, right off the bat, there are some things about this figure I like and some things that I don't like. Now, first off, let me go ahead with what I do like. It's the fact that it's a classic Imperial Stormtrooper. I like that. I love this classic design of Stormtrooper. Now, at the time this was released, this was intended for Rogue One, which was the movie leading up to Episode 4, A New Hope. So, this is supposed to be based on roughly Episode 4 Stormtrooper armor, roughly. I'm not a complete expert on Stormtrooper armor. I know there's differences between Episodes 4, 5, 6... And from what I understand, there are differences in Stormtrooper armor from Rogue One versus Episode 4 and the others. But again, I am not an expert. I'm just looking at the basic design of this armor. And I gotta say, I like this. I love the way this figure looks. Another thing is that this is a die-cast action figure, just like with K2SO. And now, if we're going to take a look at a scaling, let me bring in a Black Series Imperial Stormtrooper. As you can see, this is a considerably taller figure. Again, it is a much taller figure. Then again, this is also die cast, so they do have to make the proportions a little bit bigger. So, as far as that is concerned, I'm not going to complain too much. I like the fact this armor does have a very glossy look to it. Let me go ahead and take him off the display stand. So you can see he's got a very, I don't know how well it's showing up on my camera, but it's got a very shiny appearance. Kind of like how the Stormtrooper armor did in Episode 4. But I love the way that armor looks. I mean, this just looks good. I also like the various little detailing that they did. Let's take a quick look at the helmet. Specifically right here in the front. These little notches right here. And as far as the line at the top of the helmet, how it is separate from the actual eye lenses. Overall, this just looks really good. Yeah, especially right there, you can actually get an idea of the shine that this figure really has. Another thing I will go ahead and point out, this does come with the same display stand as K2SO. The only difference is that the peg on the stand, I think it's just a shade bigger than the peg hole in the figure, which means that you can actually have the figure displayed on the stand, which I do like. Now, as far as my... Okay, before I get to my complaints, let me say one more thing I do like, which is the only accessory it does come with is the E11 blaster. Now, on this example, I do like the fact they actually gave it a... It actually does have a weathered look to it. It's mainly black, but it does have a very, very light silver brush added to it. Give it a look of wear and tear. Just makes it look a bit more realistic, like it actually has a real world look to it. And that's what I do like about this. Also, the articulation, which for a die-cast action figure is pretty good. Because we have a swivel for the head, ball hinge for the shoulder, hinge for the elbow, swivel for the wrist. We got waist. We got a waist swivel. There is a hinge at the hips, hinge knees, hinge ankles. So it's got some very basic articulation, but for a die-cast action figure, it's actually got some really good articulation. Now, as far as what I don't like about the figure. As I stated with K2SO, the main problem these figures are going to have is going to be the articulation in the ankles. As you were seeing, even on the stand, he was wanting to tilt backwards, tilt forwards. Because over time, that is going to loosen up quite a good bit. And I barely pushed on that figure. Another complaint I do have, which is even though I do like the attention to detail, the glossy look at the paint, because it is metal on metal, if you do move certain joints around, some of that paint's gonna wear off. Like, for instance, let me zoom in on the hip right here. I barely move that hip around. There's already that little bit of paint loss. Now, for the look of the articulation right here, this is supposed to go a little bit more forward, but I can't get it to go forward to save my life. However, when I move it back, just that little bit right there is already worn off that little bit of paint. So that bare metal right there is exposed. So the paint on this, I would call the paint on this a little bit fragile. Now, as you see, I still have the little rubber and plastic pieces holding for him to hold his E11 in his hand. I don't know if his hand is actually the right size to actually hold his E11. I figured I'd wait till this video to actually take it off. And let's see how well he'll actually hold that blaster once I remove all this. Because this is the first time this has been removed from his hand. And I've had this figure for, as of this video, a little while now. Alright, looks like the grip's a little bit smaller. Let's see how well he'll hold it now. It's got a very loose grip. He technically can still hold it, but it's very loose in his hands. I mean, it's very loose in his hands. Matter of fact, it's barely in his hand. And that came out of his hand without too much issues. Now, just because I'm curious, how well will this fit into the Black Series Stormtrooper's hands, since he actually holds his E11 very well. Let's see. Oh, it's got a very tight feel. Oh. Oh, that looks good. That looks very good. Granted, this doesn't have the same level of paint detail that this one has. The fact that the E11 from this figure can be held quite easily by this figure does give it a little bit more of a realistic appearance. A little worn versus, a brand new looking E11. Speaking of which, no. But I will say, if you do pick up this figure, I will recommend leaving the little plastic wrap around the pistol grip, the rubber bands around his wrist so he can actually hold it. Otherwise, he's not going to hold his blaster. But, aside from that, those are my only real complaints. Aside from the obvious that he does lack all the articulation that the basic Black Series figures have. But, I mean, it's a diecast figure. What do you expect? But overall, it's not a bad figure. I mean, I like it. I don't like the fact that his paint chips very easily. Speaking of paint chipping very easily, I just now noticed this one right here on his shoulder. It's not a bad figure. It's very cool for what it is. I mean, it's more of a display piece than anything. It's nothing I would play with. I mean, this I would honestly play it with. This one would just go on the shelf and stay there. I might have him in a certain pose. That's about as far as I would leave it. But the fragile paint that is on this, the ankle articulation, which with my figure has already loosened up a little bit. Those, and the fact that he cannot hold his blaster rifle independently without any kind of support, for me, are the only drawbacks to this figure. Those are my only complaints. Other than that, I love this figure. I actually like it. So, if you're a fan of Star Wars, you like Stormtroopers, and you like diecast figures, then this is a must-have for your Star Wars collection. But that is all I have for the Disney Store exclusive Star Wars Elite Series diecast Imperial Stormtrooper. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.